It is my high honor and distinct privilege to introduce to you the President-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
We have a great economic plan. We will double our growth and have the strongest economy anywhere in the world. At the same time, we will get along with all other nations, willing to get along with us.
In the normal course of broadcast journalism, when anchors come on the set, they greet their audience. Tonight, the audience has greeted their anchor, Donald Trump for president. The media, the political pundits, the pollsters all got it wrong. But probably at the Cameroon radio television, we had it right, that Donald Trump was going to be the president of the United States of America. And this is part of our first edition of GLOBEWATCH this year. Great expectations. American elections held today mean either a president, Hillary Clinton, or Donald Trump at the White House. A likely prediction by November 4 this year, when the nation of nations decides. Wherever you are, welcome to GLOBEWATCH on this third day of 2016. I'm Charles Obune, your anchor. And after that, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were yet to be nominated by their respective parties as candidates for U.S. elections 2016. Earlier in the month of May, in this program, I received the former president of the European Union Commission, José Manuel Barroso. In a heated exchange, he rejected the fact that Donald Trump would be the president of the United States of America. Currently, there is what they call the TTP, the Trans-Atlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, which is between...
I launched it with President Obama, so I know about it.
No. Which
I launched negotiations.
Yeah, to a kind of economic NATO, if you like.
No.
The discussions are in a limbo for the moment. Do you think it is going to be realistic? If it doesn't work under Barack Obama is leaving a few months from now?
I think it will work. Because
is it going to work under a presidency like Donald Trump?
Come on, Trump was not yet elected.
This is presumption. This is politics of procrastination.
Are you going to vote for him?
I'm a Cameroonian, so I cannot practice American politics.
You will not vote for him, would you? It's important. Because, you know, the African American will not vote for him. Because, unfortunately, he's playing with division of ethnic people in that country, the great American country. And he's using this difference, including in ethnic terms.
And that political procrastination worked. And last Sunday, just 2 days to U.S. elections 2016, this was our final conclusion. And probably this historical news, which of course is probably not good news for Hillary Clinton, since the turn of the 20th century, no Democrat has replaced another Democrat successfully through the ballot box consecutively at the White House. By implication, Hillary Clinton may not win the elections, as everybody is predicting based on that historical perspective. And so it was. Donald Trump was elected president of the United States of America as the 45th to replace outgoing Barack Obama. Well, the markets, the international community reacted in their own way. The American people have made their choice. So, what meaning do we make of the election of Donald Trump as president of the United States of America? My guest today is someone who knows the American space so well and served for some time as an advisor to the former president of Germany, a country that first of all declared after Donald Trump was elected president through its foreign minister that this is not the result they expected. Well, the American people made their choice. And joining me on the set today to make sense out of all of this is Kennedy TUMENTA. Welcome to GLOBEWATCH.
Thank you very much, Charles.
Donald Trump mocked the disabled, saying that, don't ask me questions during the debate. That was an insult. Donald Trump said crooked Hillary, nasty Hillary, called women pigs, fats, called Mexicans rapists, Africans lazy people. To win elections in the world today, you need to be vulgar, right?
Well, it's the people's choice. I mean, the outcome of these elections says a lot about democracy. It is not about polls. It is about your decision, the decision you make in the polling box. So I don't think being vulgar actually expresses the intention or the opinion of people. What I believe is that Donald Trump actually represented the feelings, the emotional setbacks, the inequality in the American society. And that is exactly what political leaders should be able to resolve today. Otherwise,
one of the reasons I brought you on this set is that you equally teach ethics in politics. When you have a candidate like Donald Trump, today president-elect, there are two key elements in American political life: the respect for civility and a coherent stand on issues. When you have an unconventional candidate like Donald Trump who did not fulfill any of those elements, does it mean that morality in politics is dead?
I do not think so. What was the best choice for the American people? On the other hand, you had a vulgar candidate, a candidate who actually expresses all the view you mentioned. And at the same time, the American people made their choice for him. On the other hand, you found Hillary, who also was questionable. He has some behavioral pattern that was unacceptable. So it was a choice on acceptable morality and unacceptable morality. What does that mean? Politicians today should be very careful, because everything we do today has a consequence tomorrow. So for Donald Trump, people were able to excuse him. They didn't take him serious. For Hillary Clinton, she was not consistent in her messages. Donald Trump took the bad guy strategy, went through with his bad guy strategy and got his election. Hillary Clinton was not able to come out of the mess of the email scandal.
But you know, this issue of email, I don't want us to dwell over it for long, because this is a common practice in the State Department. There is no previous Secretary of State who can be excluded from that behavior. But you know, Hillary Clinton ran the most professional electoral campaign strategy in the world. It didn't work. Why? The message was not inspirational?
Well, it was inspirational. But you know, the issue about inequality in our society is a very ethical and moral fundamental issue. Politicians are there to be able to solve this inequality in society. And I think the American people were not able to get that message from Hillary. 8 years after President Obama, Obamacare is there, which was very good. I think it's a very good program to solve certain inequality. But the inequality in the society was not able to be, you know, Hillary was not able to convince the American voters, especially those who were not decided voters. And, you know, the politics of this election was different. There's a lot of inequalities. You know, we lose our jobs because of the Chinese. We lose our jobs because of illegal immigrants who come in. We lose our jobs. We lose our jobs because of, you know, bad trade policies and so on. So he was able to build on this sentiment, moral sentiment, to be able to, you know, to build his campaign. And you discover that finally we were very surprised.
Well, I get you loud and clear. The atmosphere is that of nationalists coming to power across the world. The atmosphere is that of populist governments across the world. Nobody expected that the American people could accept a populist which is closer to communism by American political culture, which of course has been a rejection over the years. If you look at the platform of Donald Trump, it gives you the impression that we are heading to an America which is in the world of Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe, every nation for itself, God for we all. Is that what we are heading to?
I think if Donald Trump takes that direction, he is going to, he is going to be kicked out of the office. I think we all live in a global community where no nation can succeed.
Well,
alone.
who is going to kick him out of the office? He has just been elected to limit immigration, to make America great again. Who is going to kick him out of the office?
I think the American people and the global community, the American people cannot afford to be isolated. I mean, the previous government before Obama discovered how they were isolated. Even though in the later part of Obama's administration, he was also isolated in certain issue. He had a feet-dragging attitude in certain issue. But Americans' role in the world still stands. And Donald Trump cannot afford to create such an issue. Because, the American benefit by creating friendship around the world. Americans might reject to be the police of the world, but they want a mutual contribution from each party. I think that is the legitimate goal of every country. Every country and every political leader should first of all look at the interests of his people. Then he can see how he can build strategic alliances around for the benefit of his people. Once you project, like in the 20th century, to build first the global partnership, before you look at the interests of your people, you'll be very surprised when nationalist feelings will come in, because that is the ultimate goal. We elect a leader to be able to fulfill our ultimate goal of full employment and so on.
Let's look at Donald Trump's policy proposals. Make America great again. That was the slogan. And I understand that because the most technologically advanced nation in the world today is Japan. The most indebted nation in the world today is the United States of America. Yeah. She is at least at the 10th level of global educational classification. Most of America's global standings are felt. And a country with a debt of plus $20 trillion. Can Donald Trump deliver, knowing the realities of Washington?
The interesting thing with Donald Trump's policy is that he offers two counterproductive economics policies. One, build more infrastructures in the US. Two, reduce taxation. Where will he get this money from? That's the issue. Where will he get the money to be able to finance the infrastructural development that he wants to build? Build the walls, build this, build roads, and so on. And even targeting climatic issues. When we are struggling when scientists have proven that, that environmental degradation is due to climatic change.
Donald Trump said during the campaign that climate change talks is a fabrication of Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and a few well-fed people in Washington, especially in the Hollywood industry, probably was attacking Leonardo DiCaprio, who is one of the proponents of climate change. When Donald Trump says that he's going to build a wall along the U.S.-Mexican border, cancel all the trade deals that have been signed, NAFTA, which means the North American Free Trade Association. Already we have a wall existing between the United States of America and Mexico. Will Donald Trump really do that?
I am not sure. There are two Donald Trump. Donald Trump, the campaigner, and the Donald Trump, the president-elect. And then there will be a third of Donald Trump. The
President of the United States of America from January 2017.
Exactly. And now we are seeing the president-elect. At first he said he's going to, cancel on the first day Obamacare. Now the president-elect is saying, I
have to keep Obamacare. It's good. I have to keep 20 million Americans cannot just go like that.
I'm very, very optimistic with him.
You just brought one issue with Donald Trump. He is inconsistent.
Thank you.
When you deal with an inconsistent American president in the 21st century, I can remember back in the 70s, then U.S. National Security Advisor and former Secretary of State, qualified today as the father of global equilibrium, Henry Kissinger, said, if I want to call Europe, I don't know who to call. Today, the Europeans may say, if I want to call Washington, I don't know who to call, because probably the Secretary of State could offer a different statement. President Donald Trump will offer a different one. And by the time it is 10 p.m., you have a different statement from Vice President Mike Pence, as it was during the campaign strategy. Who should the world follow from Washington henceforth?
I think global leaders are very, very smart people. Why? Because they know that the rhetoric that came out of the campaign, they are watching it very clearly. They are really sure that the President-elect Donald Trump is going to bring in professionals. You know, the Vice President-elect, he's somebody from the establishment and he knows a lot. And I think they are going to adapt. They are going to put in a strong team that is going to preserve American interests abroad. At the same time, build strategic partnership to be able to eradicate some of the challenges that we are facing. But, you spoke about Kissinger. I think he's somebody who I also benefited from his training. But he actually said that we should give a chance to Donald Trump. And then he should be able to understand that American cannot afford to be isolated in the 21st century.
Well, but that is probably not the case. You just spoke of Donald Trump bringing in professionals. Professionals will simply mean bringing back the Washington establishment that he rejected during the campaign. And when I look at those who Donald Trump is bringing in, I simply say this is putting old wine into new wineskins. If you look at somebody like John Bolton, who was expected to be guest on GLOBEWATCH today, but because of timing, we couldn't do it. He's going probably the next Secretary of State of the United States of America. If you look at Rudy Giuliani, who is probably going to the State Department, to the Justice Department. If you look at the person who is going to head the Chief of Staff, Bannon. If you look at the person, somebody like Chris Christie, who is the Vice President of the Transitional Administration, these are all guys who are tired of Washington.
You see, the most important things in politics is that these guys have learned. They made a lot of errors in the past, and they were sanctioned. Now, you have augmented intelligence. They are going in to build another strategy to be able to take Americans ahead. I think in the past 8 years, President Obama has put in place a lot of institutional mechanisms.
Let me just give some background to some of the people I was just talking about. If you take somebody like John Bolton, who was a former UN ambassador during the Iraqi invasion, this is somebody who supported and backed Iraqi invasion. If you have somebody like Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York during 9/11, you take Mike Pence, these are people who have worked in, and you bring all of them and you said, damn you, the Washington estate, and you bring them back. Nobody believes in you.
That is the point. Donald Trump is very, very inconsistent. And it is, it makes some global leaders a little bit scared. But, we have to see how he moved from inconsistent to reality. So now we are discussing about perception and reality. Donald Trump said all the Washington establishment should go away, but he's a guy who has made a lot of deals. He's a businessman. Because these guys, you should understand something. Donald Trump knows how to make his deals. He didn't want to let his cat out. And the most important thing is to understand the interests of the others. You build your strategy, and then you let your cat out. And I believe that is exactly the strategy that Donald is using.
How should African governments be reading this? You and I are in Cameroon. This is a country host to some 300 American troops fighting the war on Boko Haram. When we have this kind of confused situation for the moment that nobody knows what is in and out, how should African governments be reacting to Donald Trump's election?
I think
probably they will be happy that the files on homosexuality, on abortion, where there was pressure on development issues, will be put under the shelf.
You see, I think African governments, they are happy. I mean, they always welcome, all the different types of American presidents. They work with them. But one thing which is very important for this candidate is that with the slogan, "Make America Great Again," it is the same thing African government should put on the table. Make Africa great again and continuously great again. And now we go on the negotiation table as partners.
Do you think that there will be less pressure on African governments with Donald Trump as the president? Because one key element that the Americans have always criticized African governments is that it is made up of so many old people. Donald Trump is 70. Probably they will not be telling those 80, 90 years leaders in Africa to leave. Secondly, we saw for the very first time in our generation an American president elected demonstrations across the country saying that this is not my president. Any lesson on democracy again, probably nobody will listen.
Well, I think you're right. The African people, as democracy says, makes their choices. And wherever these choices are respected, we will have the necessary governments which we need. But at the same time, democracy is not about elections. It's about checks and balances. It's about participating in the social development of our communities. It's about the social contracts between the state and its people. It is true, in the United States, what we are seeing is that, of course, some people were deceived by the polls, but people never revealed. But, you know, the decisions for democracy is made within the poll. And if this within the balloting box, so when I decide who to elect, it's personal. It's about my interest. So the American people reveal, and it is caring for the global community, but it's their choice.
We have an American Senate completely Republican.
Yes.
We have an American House of Representatives completely Republican. We have the popular vote that went to Hillary Clinton. We have the Electoral College vote that went to Donald Trump. When you have such a polarized nation like the United States of America for the moment, I received a message from a friend in the US who said that in their school they have set a commission to deal with stress because people are running, some are going to Canada. When you have a polarized nation like the United States for the moment, what should a leader at that level do?
The first thing that Donald has to do, President-elect Donald Trump has to do, is to unite his people. First of all, he has all the necessary instruments to make America great. He has the Senate.
Again?
Yes, again. He has all the instruments. But the fundamental issue is making it great for who? It's making it great for the American people. But he cannot move ahead without having these people deciding. He has to go.
You and I know that the most important institution in the United States of America is the Congress.
Yes.
And that is why they have limitless mandate in the US Congress. Yes. The presidency is just a power play, which is the contrary to African institutions where the most important institution is the presidency of the republic. And that is why they have limitless mandates in most cases. The US Congress is a body that nobody clowns with. You remember that Bush had a majority of Republicans. They rejected voting his bills. Would that be the case with Donald Trump?
I'm really sure. Certain bills will be rejected, just like it happens with Obama. The U.S. Congress is a very important foundation. And I think, as you rightly said, there are a lot of interests at stake. And exactly what I think is that Donald Trump, with his rhetoric, and he will not be able to get in certain policies through the Congress if they are counterproductive to the interests of the American people internally and abroad.
There was so much discussion that there were foreign interventions to elect Donald Trump president of the United States of America. And all the 17 intelligence agencies of the United States of America, or spy agencies, agreed that there was hacking to favor the Republican candidate. As you and I speak, there are already lawsuits against some of the electoral issues in the United States. We know what happened a few days before the elections with the Comey report about Hillary Clinton. If the FBI does those investigations and finally concludes that there was some foul play, are we heading back to 1974 when Nixon had to resign? Can that happen with the current atmosphere?
Well, I think unless it is proven, but I don't see Donald as the type of guy that resigns. And he's a business guy. He's not a full-fledged politician. His moral upbringing is different. So he will not resign. Donald will take it right to the end. I mean, if you look at his career from the past, he doesn't give up. Okay. So he's not the type of guy that will say, I give up. Okay. So I think we will see a strong Donald Trump struggling to match reality, emotions, and real business.
Kennedy Tumenta, thank you very much. And I should tell my audience that you work with a think tank based in Germany, and you used to advise former German president and some African leaders, especially in Eastern Africa. Thank you very much indeed for being guest on GlobeWatch.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings today's edition of GlobeWatch to the end. I will be off the air for some time, and when we come back after the Females Nation Cup, we will continue to watch the globe. And remember, this is the Cameroon Radio Television. On this channel, undisputable information is a priority.